Good evening and welcome to the beautiful game. Yes, 48 games in the first round of the 2014 World Cup. 136 goals have been scored and 9 red cards have been dished out, and that does not include Luis Suarez. In a nutshell, that sums up the opening 2 weeks. Novi Kapadia and Karim Ben-Sharifah will have had a good night's sleep. They will in fact also have a good night's sleep tonight. But before that, we will get them to look back on a fascinating World Cup so far. Let's start by just running you through how the groups have ended. There were 8 groups. Let's start with Group A and just quickly sum it up. Brazil qualifying from Group A along with Mexico, Croatia, Cameroon going out. Group B, the big shocker here, world champion Spain out, winning just 1 game, the last one against Australia. Netherlands, 9 points out of 9 possible in that group. Well, let's start by asking Karim and Novi, fascinating World Cup in a sense, the kind of amazing results we've seen?
Well, it was a very good World Cup so far. The first round, especially the number of goals scored was very high, and it was very good compared to 2010 and the previous World Cups. There was a lot of good things, a lot of good goals. And I think it's a good start, and we hope that the next games will be in the same way.
Okay, before I get Novin, let's go back to the group standings. Group C, this one, Colombia without Falcao, who's enjoying himself in Miami, is topping with 9. Greece have qualified with 4 points. Ivory Coast, unfortunately, not being able to get out of the group stages for the 3rd World Cup in a row. Group D coming up next, the group of death, and this is perhaps the story of the World Cup. 3 world champions, former world champions, between them have won 7 world titles. Only Uruguay going through, Costa Rica topping the group, going home Italy and England. Group E, France 7 points going through easily, Switzerland also going through. Switzerland in fact destroying Ecuador in that last game, Honduras in the last game with Xherdan Shaqiri scoring that hat-trick. Okay, Group F. What's happened in this group? Argentina, Leo Messi inspiring them, 9 points, 3 wins out of 3. But Bosnia, everyone tipped them to go through. Look who's gone through from this group. Nigeria going through, the African champions. Group G was tipped as the other group of death, and it turned out in a sense because Portugal going out, Cristiano Ronaldo could not take them over the line and into the 2nd round. Germany going through, USA going through despite losing to Germany last night. And finally, the last group, Belgium. The Red Devils, 3 wins, not convincing entirely. Algeria going through after holding Russia last night. Okay, so these were the group stages. Normally we would start this show by looking back at the first round, with some great goals or some great moments. But one incident has overshadowed all of that. Luis Suarez came into the World Cup with the potential to be its standout player. He has been sent home in disgrace after playing just 2 games.
Looking for Suarez!
He started the World Cup on the bench after knee surgery and then made up for lost time by single-handedly sending England packing from the World Cup. But having had his moment, Luis Suarez wanted to have a bite as well. A 9-game suspension and a 4-month ban from all football, ending El Pistolero's World Cup and perhaps Liverpool's upcoming season.
Novi Kapadia, clearly, Luis Suarez is the talk across the world on Facebook, on Twitter. In fact, he's become the laughing stock of the world, and he deserves it, doesn't it?
Yes, except in Uruguay, where they are still defending him. He did show his skills, 2 brilliant goals against England, which helped Uruguay reach this position. And I think the fright that he created for the Italian defense also. There is absolutely no doubt about his great skill. But what Suarez has done is a culmination of several refereeing errors. That has also been one of the talking points of this World Cup, starting from the very first match, the Japanese referee missing out quite a trick or 2. And throughout, Edin Dzeko was unlucky. That equalizer seemed, or the first goal seemed genuine.
Right.
You know, another talking point about this World Cup is that except Group E, where the favourites France and Switzerland have gone through, in every group there have been topsy-turvy results.
Right.
Nowhere have the favourites gone through. Maybe we could say, okay, Brazil and Mexico, Croatia and Mexico were almost the same. And a lot of it has been caused by refereeing errors.
Right.
So that is also a major talking about. But 2.9 goals at an average is phenomenal. It's a
Right.
throwback to the football of the 60s and 50s.
Karim and Sharifa, Giorgio Chiellini in fact has come out and said that I sympathize with Suarez because it's very excessive. Perhaps he's being the better man here?
Well, you know, even Chiellini, I don't think he will like his position because he's the one who started that. Had he not come to the referee and you know, there was a showing the incident and highlighting it and even talking after the, I don't think all this would maybe have happened. But so maybe he doesn't want to be involved at all in this. And because his name will be always connected to Suarez. Suarez was suspended, this heavy suspension, because he beat Chiellini. And I think Chiellini will also feel bad because he doesn't want to be involved in this.
You know, we interviewed Marco Materazzi before this World Cup and he didn't want to be reminded of that headbutt which happened in the 2006 final. But, you know, for Luis Suarez, clearly this is a sign from the football bosses that enough is enough. This is the third time he had done it. So clearly everybody had run out of patience.
Everybody has, and now it's to be seen what are the repercussions as far as club football goes. And he obviously does require, you know, very serious psychological medical help. And this is the period where maybe this can be dealt with strictly once all the hullabaloo has died down. And, you know, both his Uruguayan Football Federation as well as the clubs, wherever he's going, he has a lot of football left in him. He is arguably the finest finisher in world football at present. So it would be a pity to lose his skills, but obviously he's crossed the line too often. You know, somewhere, I mean, there are the shadow lines between accepted aggression and overboard aggression. He has crossed it too often. He has to learn the limits. Whatever his background, he has to learn the limits.
Yes, because as you told me yesterday, everyone wants to win, but winning cannot happen at a cost. You have to play within the boundaries. Let's move on now. For most football fans, the Dutch are always special. Perhaps the only team that can delight and drive them to despair in the same tournament. In Brazil though, Louis van Gaal's men have dazzled. The tournament will forever be remembered for their annihilation of world champion Spain.
A new look lineup had the world sniggering. Did Louis van Gaal actually think he could win it with kids? But on their opening night, the big names Van Persie, Robben and the rest collectively blew the Spanish Armada apart. There was no stopping the Dutch charge. 3 wins in a row and top spot in the group. World champion Spain could not even make it past the first round.
You know, we're discussing all the great moments that have happened in the last 2 weeks. You know, Karim Ben Sharifa, I was watching this game at home. I got a call from a friend in England and he was absolutely stunned. That's what the Dutch did. They psychologically finished off Spain with that 5-1 hammering.
Yeah, I think that's where Spain could never overcome the shock and the disappointment within the camp of Spain, because it was humiliating defeat for Spain, and I don't think they was expecting that. In fact, in a way, they was a little bit arrogant because they never care about what the opposition do. They come with their way of play, with their formation, and that wasn't expected. But of course, well-deserved victory by the Dutch team, which outplayed them in each department, and they scored a lot of goals. And I think that Spain was almost eliminated on that game because psychologically and mentally,
that 5-1 hammering will leave scars. Novi Kapadia, you've written about the World Cup, the history of the World Cup. never perhaps on the opening match of the world champions have they gone and suffered a hammering like this. And in fact, this set the tone to the tournament. You know, all that goals we have seen, I was told that 145 goals were scored in the last World Cup. You've already had 136 in the first round itself.
No, it has never happened, and I don't think it will ever happen also, that world champions have been so humiliated. And, you know, to add to that, I mean, I think it hastened the retirement of several stars who would have, it was acted as a catalyst. The Iker Casillas, Xavi Hernandez, and several others who are probably going to give up their international career. Suddenly it was, you know, the writing was on the wall, but this was the nail on the head, that we can't cope anymore. And also the beauty of the goals. Van Persie's headed goal would be one of the great headers of all time.
They called him the Flying Dutchman after
The
that.
Flying Dutchman. Then some of the goals which Robben scored, the trapping in the air, the turning 180 degrees. So it was the coming of age of these Dutch players also, who always very talented but very individualistic. Here they seem to blend perfectly.
You know, we'll talk about those goals as we go on in the show. But Kareem and Sharifa, a note also about Louis van Gaal. Before the tournament, everyone was saying, oh, he's off to Manchester United. But he said, I'm going to stick to doing my job for the next 1.5 months, which is with Holland at the World Cup. And he's taken them to the second round. The signs of strife that you see with Holland are not there. This team is enjoying playing. They are youngsters at the back, but they've actually stood up. And, you know, a lot of them have done themselves very proud.
Yeah, and he is a very professional coach, we know that, and he was focusing for the moment on Holland. But I think having confirmed the job of Manchester United will take a lot of pressure out of him. You know, many coaches, let's not forget, it's a job, and when you don't perform, you lose your job. For him, it was like whatever happened, he is already going to Manchester, another exciting job. And I think that's definitely played in his favor to maybe approach his game with more relaxed and
more freedom in a sense.
Exactly, the way maybe he talked to the players, the way he prepared for the game. He look a relaxed coach, and unlike many coaches that we had seen in this World Cup, who they know their job and the pressure is about that game that is happening, and I think that's helped him rather than affected him.
You know, Novi, also, when you look at the European teams, they haven't done too well. But 3 European teams have done very well. In fact, we spoke about Holland, but even Germany and France, and the kind of football they've played have thrilled fans. And ultimately, you want to see in a World Cup fans getting thrilled, lots of goals being scored. Unfortunately, Brazil haven't done it, but these 3 European teams have.
Yes, you see, I've analyzed 2010 and 2014. The breakup of the last 16 is very similar. There were 6 from Europe then. Even then, they were singing the death knell of European football, but then 3 went into the semi-final. 5 from South America.
But Novi, 5 out of 6.
Yes, this time it's 5 out of 6. Even then, they were 5. The only major difference is that last time we had 2 from Asia. This time, there are none. The CONMEBOL region, they have got 3, which is very unique, and Africa has got 2. So what is coming about is that in Europe, certain countries, obviously Germany, Netherlands, this time France, you know, certain countries are being more consistent, but those who at the bottom rung, I mean, Greece has been a surprise this time, are not really living up to the mark. So if maybe sometime in the future, could the contingent from Europe be cut down a lot? UEFA is a very powerful body, they'll never approve of it. But for 2 successive World Cups, you know, European countries haven't lived up to their mark. But yes, as you rightly said, the countries which have done well, France, Netherlands and Germany, have played absolutely exhilarating football. And Belgium have also, remember, it's a very tough team to score against. Just 1 penalty goal against them.
Algeria.
That Algeria scored in the beginning, and they are grinding out the results. And of course, Greece is the Slovakia of 2014. Unexpected entry into the round of 16.
Very quickly, Kareem, as I wrap this and get into a break, of the European teams mentioned, which one has delighted you more as a coach?
Germany, without a doubt. Their consistency, their professionalism, rain in or hot, or they played in different conditions, and they always provided a consistent performance. All those teams that we discussed from Europe, if you notice, are teams who number one work a lot on the youth developments, because there is always players coming up, France, Germany, and also these teams, they build those teams throughout the years. It's not something that they bring new players and let's go to the World Cup. These teams like Germany is coming, the signs of this progress is for the last 2 or 3 years, and they are still quite
In fact,
a young
it started
team.
in 2006 with Jürgen Klinsmann, who changed the way
Exactly.
the Germans play.
And still a young team. It's not over-age team like, for example,
England.
Italy or England.
Yeah, okay. Okay, we've discussed the European teams. We'll take a break. When we return, we look at two Barcelona teammates who seem to have an in-house competition going for the Golden Boot. That's Messi and Neymar. Welcome back. The biggest shock so far has been the group of death, Group D. Who would have thought Costa Rica would go through in a group which had 3 world champions? Will you remember the World Cup for Costa Rica's incredible march into the second round, or for that annihilation of Spain?
No,
Which will
both.
headline this World Cup? Which moment?
No, Costa Rica have done what North Korea did in 1966. They'll be forever remembered. And you know, the world also loves David versus Goliath story, the romance of the underdog. And
There were 2 David versus Goliath incidents when involving Costa Rica.
yes, there are two of them, absolutely. And in just like North Korea did to Italy in 1966 and almost did to Portugal, except for the genius of Eusebio, Costa Rica played exhilarating football. They didn't park the bus and rely just on a counter attack and then defend, like the way Greece won Euro 2004. They played attacking football, they used set pieces very well, and certainly they have been the revelation and also an indication that the gap is narrowing.
Yes, I wanted to ask Karim
The
that. because
minnows
in
are nearly as good as
In
the giants.
2010, the gap was there. It was very evident. This time, the gap is almost, it's almost gone.
Yeah, you must give credit because for the coaches of these teams, especially in South America, there are a few coaches there that we never heard about. In fact, maybe the 3 highest paid coach in this tournament was already out, Capello, Roy Hodgson, and because one of the things which is coming with Costa Rica, which many teams are using, is the way they use this 3-5-2 system, which suit them, and all these guys proved to us that it's not only about the quality of the players and the value of the players. It's a lot also about
How you play as
the
a team.
fitness. Is about the team spirit as well. That's very, very important. And all those teams who are punching above their weight are teams who have these qualities. They are very fit and they are well organized, and also they have a great team spirit.
He talks about team spirit. Mario Balotelli wanted to take the headlines by getting a kiss from the Queen. Well, Italy and he have been kissed goodbye.
They've been kissed goodbye to, this question of team spirit. We are also seeing that, the people who have what we call the fire in the belly, that hunger for more. I mean, Luke Shaw has gone back playing 1 game. He's already in a medical with Manchester United, millions of pounds transfer. Really, do they still, Harry Redknapp has raised that point. Of course, many of the English players have denied it. Do they still have that hunger for representing the country in international football? From Costa Rica, from Colombia, no doubt the coaches have done a wonderful work. Maximum utilization of resources, which is what a good coach should do. But also within the players, there does seem to be that in some of the European countries that,
The Champions League lure is much more, in a
the
sense.
club versus country debate has always existed in football, but the World Cup always tilted the balance. Is it evening it out? The club matters so much, with people saying the UEFA Champions League is as good as the World Cup,
Right.
and which is an unfortunate trend.
Okay, let's move on. You've spent a lot of years in India, so you will know the kind of burden which Sachin Tendulkar used to carry for India on the cricket pitch. Very similar to what Messi and Neymar are carrying, and the burden of expectations they have delivered. In a sense, Messi has dragged Argentina over the line at great goal against Iran, and also Neymar getting 4 goals in both the games Brazil won.
Absolutely, especially at their age, they are not. They are young players, though Messi is 27. Especially for Neymar, they are the organizing country. There is a lot of things going on in Brazil, and especially off the pitch. And he's the man who everybody put hope in him, and tremendous pressure. But the way he played, he was impressive. You know, he didn't fall to the trap of the pressure, or sometimes he did miss chances, but he never give up, and he always tried. And rightly, he's the one who is carrying this Brazil to this round. Whether they will go all the way through, that's another question. But definitely, Neymar had take the responsibility, even at a very young age.
Yes, and the worrying signs for Brazil are there, and they haven't taken this World Cup by the scruff of its neck like they are supposed to do. And you get a sense that people are worried, in a sense that, you know, this isn't the Brazil we know.
Yes, I mean, if Neymar gets another yellow card and has to miss a match or an injury, it does seem a bit worrying for the hosts, because there doesn't seem anywhere else the goals can come, except maybe through a set piece.
Or if Fred manages to cheat the referee again.
Yes. So, so much depends on one man. I mean, you know, really Neymar at 22, and he's got a phenomenal scoring record. I mean, 35 goals in just a little over 50 matches. And the way Neymar is going, and along with Thomas Muller, who's got 9 goals in 9 World Cup matches. You remember, he played 6 only in 2010. He missed the game against Spain due to suspension, the semi-final. I think even if Miroslav Klose breaks this record of 16, both these two, they are 22 and 24, easily have another 2 World Cups more, could go over that mark. They could end up as the all-time top goal getters in the World Cup, maybe even reach the mark of 20 when they retire.
I'm not sure about 20, but what we definitely know is that Neymar and Messi and Muller have a chance to go for the Golden Boot this time. Messi, very quickly, the way he's taken Argentina across the line in the games, and that's what matters. That's where the comparisons come with Maradona.
Definitely the comparisons come, and Messi also and Argentina improving game by game, though they would miss Sergio Aguero. But Messi has, of course, finally silenced the critics who said that he didn't play as well for Argentina. In the qualifiers, in this World Cup, he has been outstanding. And now, as the tougher matches come, it's for his defense to get more firm. So the forward line is exhilarating.
And I'm not sure Karim agrees with you that Sergio Aguero's missing the next game is good or bad for Argentina. What we'll do is we'll take a break, because we're going to talk about the goals that have delighted us during the first round of this tournament. Welcome back. Okay, from the day when Neymar scored the first goal of the World Cup in Sao Paulo, 136 goals have been scored in the first round. Now, some were regular run-of-the-mill stuff, and some truly spectacular. Here is our pick of the 5 goals of the tournament so far.
With Messi, he'll go for goal here. Oh my goodness gracious me! If one man could win a football match, reaching the legal limits, that's a good ball as well. Oh, the header! Oh my word! Robin van Persie. The Netherlands in front, but Australia looking for a quick comeback. They've got it. Tim Cahill, astonishing.
Okay, my personal favorite is the Cahill volley, just for the sheer technique. But Coach Karim Ben Sharifa, the football coach, which goal excited you as a coach?
All of them are good goals. Messi and Jones' goals are slightly similar, just different side. Messi, we know that this is his trademark curling goal. Robin goal is involve a lot of athleticism also, because he beat the whole defense with speed first.
That's why we
and
called
then-
him Usain Robin.
And then he showed his skills inside the box to dribble everybody and finish. For me, the KL definitely is a great goal. So both KL and Van Persie's goal, both of them are the best because they are very, very difficult to produce, very complicated technically to achieve that.
It
that
needs
finish.
a high measure of skill to pull it off.
That finish. KL, we know the ball was slightly behind, and he have to connect very well with the ball. But especially Van Persie's goal, the cross was from behind. You know, the cross didn't come from inside the box, which is he's facing the ball. The ball is coming behind, and his awareness of where is Casillas, and he had to direct the ball over Casillas. So it was very, very
In
difficult.
a sense, the sheer audacity of that goal, you know.
Of course,
Also.
I mean-
But Novi Kapadia, bringing you in on this conversation, when we look at goals like this, what you also have to factor in when you look at the great goals, or the greatest goal of them all, is when the situation demanded it. At that point, Spain were in the ascendancy. If they'd gone into that first half 1-0 ahead or even 2-0 ahead, the game would have been different. So, in a sense, that's why the Van Persie goal is special.
Very, very special. I mean, the sheer timing, as you said, the audacity, and the great skill involved. You know, what a masterly header it was. I mean, you know, that Delhi Blin that whipped in a really powerful cross. It was split-second timing. You know, it's like facing a West Indian fast bowler at its peak. I mean, the Michael Holding days. That he timed it, it went to perfection and changed the course of the match.
This is what separates the good players from the great players. The great players sense an opportunity when no one else will probably find that opportunity.
And that was the only first opportunity really that Netherlands had in that match. Because till then it seemed it was the old Spain. If David Silva had scored, they would have been 2-0 up. They went in then starting having doubts. It's the worst moment. Any coach will tell you psychologically, just a minute before halftime to concede a goal. You know, you get down in the dumps. And we saw Spain never recovered in the World Cup after that.
Right. Coach Karim Ben Sharifa, again, we talk about situations. Argentina against Iran. Iran really fought for their lives, very defensive, frustrated Argentina. But Messi again, that man, calmness under pressure, 85th, 86th minute, gave them those 3 points and in a sense settled the nerves around him because the defense is shaky. We've mentioned it on the show as well. But that moment was his and he grabbed it.
Of course, I mean, he made the difference. And you know, this brings me back to when, as a coach, and when you have a very good player who is on your team, here in this case Messi, if you look sometimes at the game, great players like that, they don't do anything in the game. And in fact, even the fans and the supporters start questioning why the coach is not changing that player. He's not doing anything. But the coach know that these kind of players can win a match anytime. You know, the Messi, there, I think, especially this game that you're talking about, the whole game was not very effective.
It was scrappy
you know,
game.
it was the whole game was scrappy, but also Messi didn't do anything during that game that was worth to mention, maybe one or two actions. And here comes the magical moment where he will win 3 points for his team. That is why he's a special player. You know, there are some players that you know as a coach that, okay, they are not playing well, I will substitute, I will take him out and replace him. But a player like Messi, even if he do nothing, leave him on the pitch, there will be
There will be
moment
one
that's-
genuine moment
exactly,
of magic.
and he will win the match for you.
Okay, so we are done with the best. What we'll do is we'll take a break and return with the stars who simply failed to raise themselves for the biggest show in world football. now we know why Iker Casillas was benched by Jose Mourinho. He got a lot of stick for it, had to leave Real Madrid, but that decision was, after a year and a half, it proved right.
Del Bosque should have realized that Casillas has got rusty. And what a way to end a career. He started it, luckily, he was an understudy in 2002 World Cup to Santiago Canizares, who suffered a shaving accident, cut his foot. And he didn't look back after that. He's reached the highs, but his career sadly ended with a whimper.
No, but did Casillas, in a sense, Spain did lose to Holland, but that mistake against Van Persie allowing him in on goal, that probably also didn't help his confidence too much.
Didn't help, and he didn't. A good goalkeeper inspires the defense. Casillas is now not. We saw that match against Paraguay in 2010, the quarterfinal. He saved
the
a penalty.
Yes.
He saved very important against Robben in the final. So, then he was a tower of strength. But now
Not anymore.
he's
Pale
fragile.
shadow in a sense.
Absolutely pale shadow.
Oh, quickly, what about Xavi? Because he was the man behind Tiki-Taka, the heart of Tiki-Taka. Hearing that he's moving on to Qatar, so clearly those legs have gone.
The legs have gone. He was the Zubin Mehta of, to take an analogy from classical music. He was in charge of the orchestra. The harmony of Spain's game all came through Xavi. From Euro 2008, for all their glory days, he was the key player. We'll very rarely see a player of this caliber in international football. I mean, the subtle passing, the angular, the weight of the pass.
The
and
beautiful in the beautiful game.
phlegmatic temperament, never rattled. Again, he was a couple of years too much, played too much football, had got jaded. So the greats of the Spanish game have all sadly faded into history.
Yes, along with the team which flew back to Madrid. Karim, Mario Balotelli, you don't know which Balotelli turns up, the one who can destroy defenses or the one who wants a kiss and doesn't deliver to get that kiss.
We did comment before during one of the earlier show that Balotelli, you don't know for who he will play, for Italy or against Italy. Unfortunately, in this 3 games that he played was most of the time against Italy, especially the last game, very important.
Lucky to stay on with that.
Yeah, lucky to stay on, but also forcing your coach to do a substitution because he doesn't trust you whether you're going to have the second yellow card and get red card and they end up playing with the 10 players. So for me, he's not. It's very difficult to. The more what I said about Messi, that you keep him on the field, he will give you the magic. Balotelli is very difficult player to work with, and I'm sure Prandelli at the end, maybe one of the reasons why he just want to move on is he doesn't want to work with a player like him.
I don't know why Arsene Wenger wants to play like him. There's a big bid coming in for him. Very quickly, Karim, we're almost out of time, but what about someone like Forlan? You actually saw Forlan in Japan, but again, that first game against Costa Rica was a pale shadow of what he was.
I did mention first or second show that I watched him in a Japan game where they lost to a Chinese team 5-1, and the Chinese team was coached by Lippi during the Asian Champions League. And I watched also his because we was part of the tour was watching the training of his team, Cerezo Osaka. He was no more the same, and J League is not that highest league where you're gonna be at the highest level.
Right.
But he's the suspension of Suarez. Few people will be happy is Colombia, but also Forlan. Maybe have
he gets a chance to come back.
lifeline and the chance to play, because if Suarez had stayed, he would have no chance.
Right.
But now I think they will turn back to him, and it's
They
up
don't
to
have any
him.
options on the bench in a sense.
It's up to him to again revive his career.
Also, since we are on the topic of players who haven't done too well, there's some young stars who've done pretty well, who've caught our attention. For you, Novi, anyone who's caught your attention?
Joel Campbell, the most, because, the sheer exhilaration, the speed, the brilliant goals, and Raheem Sterling bringing a different dimension to England. Remind me of Paul Gascoigne, the ability to beat a person and the exuberance of youth.
Yes.
There was that confidence that he can take on the world. A man who in September was barely on the Liverpool bench is
There
now
were temperamental issues as well, but
front runner in the England team.
Credit to Rodgers for the way he shaped him as well.
Full credit to Rodgers and also to Roy Hodgson for picking him, trusting him, giving him a role. I mean, a lot of England's future depends on this player, and of course the Mexican goalkeeper. The way he's playing, he'll get many more.
Ochoa.
He'll get many more women wishing to marry him.
Well, let's leave it at that. Coach, for you?
Well, I would join Novi on Campbell because if you notice, most of the team that play with one striker and play those 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1,
Right.
the striker position, there is a lot of good players on those three players like Neymar, Messi and all, but striker position, pure striker, we don't have many except Van Persie. Campbell come definitely second on that line because he's a rising star. The second one is Shaqiri. I feel that he have a big role in Switzerland performance, and he's very positive. If you had seen on the hat-trick, because he got the pass from the same player, I think 2 goals.
Right.
He always, at the celebration, he mentioned that the credit should go to the guy who passed for me the ball. So a very positive attitude and excellent performance.
Perhaps Pep Guardiola is missing something there, and Shaqiri in fact plays for Bayern Munich. Hardly got a game after moving there.
Pep Guardiola have choices, you know. It's not he's dropping Shaqiri, he have Robben.
Yeah, but in a sense, he's actually put himself in the shop window, has he not? And after this World Cup, many more teams. Liverpool, we are told, is in for Shaqiri. Okay, what we'll do now is take a look at what you have been writing into us on Twitter. Remember, you're using the hashtag World Cup. Here we go. The first tweet coming our way is from Anuj Prajapati. He writes, 145 goals in the whole of the World Cup in 2010, 136 goals in just the group stages of the 2014 World Cup. Spain, remember, in 2010 were getting 1-goal wins, not happening this time. This is processing the life, writes, would Suarez get the same ban if he played for a European team? Interesting question. Well, the South Americans did try to save him, didn't happen. Cards 37 writes, interestingly, all Asian teams finish at the bottom of the table. Yes, Asian football really needs to pull its socks up. And Rudra Raina writes, Messi is carrying Argentina to their destiny, World Cup, and the Portuguese airline is carrying Ronaldo to its journey, that is home. Go, Lee, go. Yes, this battle is over. Our tweet of the day comes from the Sarki Fakir, and what they've written is 4 months off the football pitch, Luis Suarez is going to lose some serious weight. Teeth of God. From the hand of God, we've now descended to the teeth of God. This is how you can join in on the conversation as well. All you need to do is tweet IBN Live with the hashtag World Cup. You can also tweet in questions for Kareem Ben Sharifa and Novi Kapadia. That's it then on the show. Thank you, Kareem. Thank you, Novi. Go home, have a good night's sleep, and this one night you can actually not bother putting the TV on. Game 48 games are out of the way. 49th game, the first knockout game comes our way from Belo Horizonte with host Brazil taking on a Chile side that has shown how good they are. Goodbye. Thanks for watching.